Can Synology Photos replace Google Photos and iPhoto? That's the question today. Well, that's sort of the question today, right? I'm going to go ahead and answer that real quick. The answer is yes, it absolutely can, but you're asking the wrong question, right? So I'm Alex Reynolds, also known as SketchyBot3000, and you're on, what are we on here? I got too many things going on. You're on Nerd Something or Other right now, where we chat about the latest tech stuff and just have a good fun time, and we share our opinions and stuff. I love hearing from you all in the comments and hearing your opinions and how they differ from mine and what am I missing and stuff like that. But today I want to talk about Synology Photos, and I have a Synology drive. I've got a Synology server in my basement. I have for years at this point. Probably 3 or 4 years I think I've been running it, and I set up I set up Synology Photos just about as soon as I got the server up and running. And frankly, it might have been called something else at the time. I think they switched over the names of the software or something. I can't remember what it was when I started, but Synology Photos is what I'm using now. Has it replaced Google Photos and iPhotos for me? Well, in a sense, I never actually fully used Google Photos and iPhotos. I'm very particular about my photos and my photo library. I've been into taking photos since like 2000, 2001, something like that. I do photography for my work. I'm a jewelry designer and an industrial designer, and I do a lot of product photography and stuff. And I've done a lot of model photography and stuff as part of a hobby and things. So while I don't call myself a professional photographer, I do a lot of photography, and I'm very particular about my libraries, and I am not cool with leaving my library up to somebody else, right? Like letting Google or iPhoto be the central location where I store all my stuff. Now, I might let them hold my stuff as a secondary location or something, but very particular about having them local and stuff like that. So I never really fully leaned on iPhoto or Google Photo, and I do switch between iPhone and Android depending on who's making the product that fits me best at the time. I'm using Apple right now. I'm using an iPhone 17 Pro at the moment. I just upgraded from an iPhone mini 12, so I've been on Apple for a while at this point. But so I have been using it for years, and it has been working as my way to automatically upload photos from my phone, from my wife's phone, right? So I'm doing the whole family thing, right? There's 4 of us, my wife, my 2 kids. My 2 kids are younger though. They're like 8 and 10 years old. So they're not taking a ton of photos right now, although I do think they take a few photos here and there with the old phones that aren't connected to any cellular networks or anything. That we give them for playing games and watching videos on. But so this has to work in a family environment, not just for me, and not necessarily a professional environment, but I do use it with my business as well, right? Which, by the way, speaking of that, let's take a quick break for our sponsor, which is Charming Quail Jewelry Design. I'm Alex Reynolds, founder and designer of Charming Quail Jewelry Design, and I know what you're saying. I don't care about jewelry, Alex. Why are you talking to me about this? Hold on a second. You might be surprised. So first of all, do you have somebody in your life who does love jewelry, right? And maybe it is you, or maybe it's somebody else you love. But here's the other thing, is Charming Quail's specialty is making jewelry that helps you to revel in whatever you nerd out about with an elegance that makes everybody else jealous. Now think about the nerd out part. My background is I spent years in a jewelry store, a design studio, mostly designing custom wedding sets. So something that had to last forever and had to be elegant enough to go anywhere you want to go. But I have a lot of people that would come in saying, hey man, we're really into Legend of Zelda. We're really into space and planetary stuff. We're really into, man, I got one well, no, this was that was a little different story, but um, I don't remember the name of that video game. But I get people coming in asking for these very nerdy requests, but I had to make something that was elegant enough that they could wear it to work and not be judged. It's like, oh, those people. Oh, God, you're into that thing. No, no, no. I make stuff that's so beautiful and elegant. If you don't know what it is, you just think it's a beautiful piece of jewelry, right? And it's made to last. And man, that's the dream, right? Let's revel in what it is we nerd out about, but do it with an elegance that makes everybody else jealous. And we don't have to tell anybody what it actually is about unless it's somebody we trust. So anyway, if that's something you're into or something that you love would be into, check out charmingquail.com and maybe check out charmingquail.com/contact to go ahead and start the conversation. Let's see what I can do to help you out. But let's get back to the video. Google Photos, iPhotos versus Synology Photos. So I've been using it. It's doing the job. I've been using Synology Photos. It's doing the job. It's backing everything up. And it's doing it for my wife as well. But I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it enough to move over to Google Photos and iPhotos and start paying a monthly subscription. And offloading and trusting somebody else to do all my stuff. I should also preface this with a story. I used, I think it's called Backblaze, right? Isn't that it? Somebody correct me if I'm getting that wrong. But Backblaze is a big backup cloud service, and it was highly recommended to me. So I used that to back up all my stuff. And I had, I ripped my DVDs and stuff, my Blu-rays and all that, 4K Blu-rays, to the server, and run like a Plex thing at home. So I've kind of got my own little Netflix service. I buy the discs, I put them on my server and all the things. But backing that up to the cloud is kind of a big deal because that's a lot of space. And I had like 6 terabytes of stuff up there. I got more now. But I was using Backblaze, and I don't want to put anybody on blast here, but I would not use them again. It was going well for a while, and then I went to retrieve a file and I couldn't get to it. I was like, this is weird. I contacted them, and they're like, oh, it's a corrupted file. The file that allows you to access your backups has corrupted, so you'll have to re-upload everything. I'm like, I'm sorry, you just told me that I gotta re-upload 6 terabytes of stuff? Do you know how long? That's gonna take me months to re-upload that. And upload it to a service that just failed and lost every single thing I had backed up to you guys. When that's your one job, is to give me a safe backup place. Needless to say, I cut my subscription. I do not use Backblaze. I will not use Backblaze, and I will not recommend it to anybody. But again, this is one of those, like, I don't really trust another external service to keep up with all my stuff, right? So now I use an external hard drive, and I take it, I've got 2 of them, and I swap them out. I've got one plugged in at my house. I've got one sitting in a closet at my in-laws' house that we visit about once a month, and I'll go swap them out once a month. So a little bit of backstory there. So that's one of the reasons I won't go using iPhoto or Google Photo. But let's get into Synology Photo and that experience. I really haven't gotten into that. So here's what I don't like about it. I mean, I do like that it is very reliable, right? It mostly works really well. The one place where it's not very reliable is the automatic uploading of photos and videos to your server. It works as long as you've opened the Synology Photos app recently. If you haven't opened it recently, then it kind of like it stops in the background. And I'm talking about like you have to open it every like week or so or something to keep it running. And that's kind of an issue, right? Like what if we don't use the app that often? I don't really go back into my photos that often on my phone or my iPad, but I need it to continue backing everything up, right? So that's kind of an issue. So as long as you're opening it up regularly, or you open it up from time to time just to make sure it's backing up, then it works perfectly fine. It's very reliable, does its job. But you got to remember to do that from time to time, which I automatic backups shouldn't require you to remember to do anything. And especially when I've got, this is for my wife and the rest of the family and everything, right? So, anything that requires a little more effort is going to be problematic, right? Anything else that I have to tell my kids or my wife to do is going to be an issue. Now, the other problem is tied into this, right? So I would love my wife, I know she loves going through old photos of the kids and stuff like that, going through the baby photos and things like that. And that is all accessible on the Synology Photos app on the phone. So it's this app specifically built for this purpose. It's got the photos and the videos, all the family stuff there. And it goes back years and years, right? Long before the kids were born. But my experience has been, and I'm very curious if you all have any suggestions on how to fix this, it is incredibly slow. Like loading the photos is so slow that it's really not realistically usable. I mean, it works, it does the job, I can find the photos I'm looking for, but like I can't just like start scrolling looking for something. Like I have to be very specific about what I'm looking for, what the date is, try to go to that date, and then just wait for stuff to load in. And that's one of those things that on Google Photos and iPhotos, I'm not sure exactly how they do this because a lot of it's streaming offline. I'm sure it's got something to do with the way they index thumbnails and stuff like that. But man, that stuff loads in fast. It works really well on Google Photos and iPhotos. And with Synology Photos, that has not been my experience. It loads so slowly that it is really not usable. And I think that's an app that I could probably get my wife into using if that's one thing, is if all the photos loaded in really quickly. But man, it takes so long for the photos to load into. There's no, like, you can't just pull it up at a whim and browse through photos for fun. Like it just doesn't work fast enough for that. And again, it may be my setup. I've got a 2-bay Synology drive. I think it's the DS720 Plus or something with the 5-bay extension on it. And I've got 3 hard drives in there with the Synology hybrid RAID system in there. So it's not like RAID 3 or anything. It's the hybrid RAID, which probably has it set up to some sort of RAID 3 type thing. But they are not solid state drives. And I've thought about doing like a bunch of solid state drives and creating a different volume and all that. But man, it's a lot of work and a lot of money. I do have an NVMe stuck into the slot at the bottom, 1 terabyte to help create more memory and all that. And I've watched a lot of videos about, what things to turn on and off and what checkboxes to do to speed things up. And it still seems pretty slow. I mean, again, I could spend a lot of money creating a lot of, getting a lot of SSDs, but I'm up to like 20 terabytes of space on this server and trying to like keep up with that with SSDs. And I guess the photos probably aren't that big. It's probably a few terabytes for that, but still, I don't know. So it's been slow, which makes the app kind of unusable. And it's the same thing like when I'm at home on my laptop that is wired into the network, not Wi-Fi, wired in, just like my server is. And I pull up the Photos app through the web browser. It's just as slow. I mean, it's just as slow and unusable, and it's driving me bananas. What is the other thing? There was something else. Oh yeah, there's also something weird about if you're not an admin on the server, for some reason, what was the deal? It won't let you pull up the app and turn it to view by date mode. You can only view it by like folders and albums, but you can't view by date. You can't just like scroll through it by date. So I'm the admin on our server, but my wife is not, because God bless her, she doesn't want to be an admin. She wouldn't know what to do with it, and she's scared to death that she'd screw something up, which, that makes sense. That's a very real possibility, right? My wife does not need to be or want to be admin on the server. But because she's not admin, and because my kids aren't admin, they can't go through the videos, through the photos by date. They can only go through it by folder, which is really off-putting as well. Like even if it did load quickly, it would be hard to scroll stuff because it's all stuck in folders. So I don't know, that's kind of been my experience. Now, I would love any advice you all have to give to improve this scenario. I mean, I've got the Synology server, I've got the software running. I'd love to be able to fix it and get it working right. I'm also concerned that if I bought a bunch of SSD drives and set it up and all this stuff and used more drives to RAID it across, that it still would be slow and I just spent all this money and time on nothing, right? Have you guys been able to get Synology Photos to work fast? And if so, what did you have to do to get it to work fast? How did you get that working quickly? If you're using Google Photos or iPhotos right now and you're thinking about switching to Synology Photo, what do you think now? I'm very curious what your thoughts are. Like I said, it's mostly stable and reliable as long as you remember to open the app to back up your photos. Other than that, like it's really reliable, and being able to back it up and stuff has been great. I love the backup system. Using the RAID, using the backup drive, having a separate backup drive that can move back and forth. I think that's been working really well. So yeah, I don't know, but it's not as fast and convenient. Oh, the other thing is that Synology Photos just simply, like, the mobile app is great. And you can share photos and videos, you can share links, right? I love being able to share links because I'll send people 10 photos and I'll just send them a link to save space on my phone and the messaging services and stuff like that. But it doesn't tie into the phone quite as deeply as the native photo apps, right? And I don't think that's Synology's fault. I think that's more on Google and Apple. I think they just, they don't want these other apps to tie in as deeply and be as good to use as their own apps. They would rather you pay their cloud services and stuff. But it does do pretty well. It shares pretty well. But there are definitely places where I'd like to access my photos and I can't access them, like Tinybeans.com. I use that app to share photos of the kids and stuff with grandparents and all that. We all use the Tinybeans app. But when I'm in the Tinybeans app, I go add photo, it goes to iPhoto. It goes to my iPhoto library. It will not go into any other app, right? I can't pull photos from any other app. It naturally pulls from the iPhoto library. And so that means that I can't really add the Synology Photos. I find that I can go into the Synology Photos app and share it to the Tinybeans app from Synology Photos. Or a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just get on my computer and put them on from the computer. Or if I haven't cleaned my phone off yet, that's what I do a lot of times. I try not to clean my phone off until I've sent everything I want to Tinybeans. That's usually what I end up doing. So you got stuff like that, right? So I'm curious, what do you think? Are you already using Synology Photos? Are you using Google Photos? Are you using iPhotos? If you're using Google or iPhoto, would you switch to Synology Photo? Is any of this a deal breaker for you? What do you think? But this has been my experience, and I'm curious to find a better alternative. I'm tired of Synology Photos. It's doing its job, but it's not doing it well. It's stable, it's backing everything up, but I've got a bunch of photos that are really hard to access. And that's driving me nuts. Mostly just the speed issue is my biggest problem. And I've heard of image, but that sounds like a lot of Docker and more complicated stuff than I'm ready to get into. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts. Have you been using Synology Photos? Have you had the same experience? Have you figured out how to make it faster? If so, how did you do it? I don't know, all the things. Let's chat about it in the comments. So, and like, subscribe, and then check out this video next. If you had fun here, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun there too.